Good evening and welcome to Mustang Arena, where we are getting ready for varsity action between the Dr. Phillips Panthers and the Wekiva Mustangs. Here in our headline event of the tripleheader, this is Mark Barchi, the Sports Information Director here at Wekiva, joined by Neil Fisher from the Apopka Chief. And this, we talked about a little bit during the JV and freshman games earlier. This is about as difficult of a start to the season as you could possibly imagine for Wekiva. 3 out of 4 of their games are against either defending state champions or at least defending playoff contenders who were in the final 8 or 4 against, of course, OCP to open up the season, then against Windermere last week, and now against Dr. Phillips. And so, Neil, we are expecting dazzling play from Dr. Phillips. They got stung during the Metro versus Florida Challenge by an extremely talented Lake Highland prep team led by Bryce Sensabaugh, who had a career game there with 39, but Dr. Phillips still performed brilliantly in that game. And also, as we were talking about earlier, Dr. Phillips now finally has crossed the threshold. For quite some time, they were always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Coach Anthony Long had a near endless string of 20-win seasons. Then Ben Witherspoon takes over the program a few years ago, putting an end to an era, and that 20-win streak was broken briefly, and everybody kind of collectively gasped and held their breath like, is this the end of Dr. Phillips being a state powerhouse? And Coach Witherspoon very quickly put those concerns to rest as he took his team back, and now they have finally cashed in as state champions.
Yeah, Coach Witherspoon taking over 3 seasons ago. That broke that streak of 20-plus wins for over 20 seasons. And then, of course, he got him back to that state championship contender status last year. 2 years ago last year, they won the championship against Dwyer, and they come back perhaps even stronger tonight. This season, their trio of 3 seniors, Denzel Aberdeen, he signed with Florida, Riley Cougar with Mississippi State, Ernest Udad Jr., who signed with Kansas. So not only D1 programs, but Power 1D programs, Power 5 Conferences D1 program. Quick note, as we only have 10 more seconds before we start our pregame festivities, if transition is your cup of tea, you certainly have come to the right place. Both these teams, that's their bread and butter, their forte, that's how they make their living. And they not only do it on the turnover, but the rebounds, they get those rebounds, they get out. And it's not just a matter of getting the ball up and down, great passing, but they get great spacing, and they move the ball quickly. So there's your game tonight. Wekiva needing a victory, an improving team, three victories 2 seasons ago, 11 victories in district championship tournament victory as well, and this certainly would go a long way towards taking that next step. Back to you, Mark, and get the pregame festivities started.
Good evening, everyone. Wekiva High School welcomes you to Mustang Arena for varsity basketball competition. Please welcome our guests from Dr. Phillips High School. They are the Panthers. And they'll be taking on your Wekiva High School Mustangs. Before we begin our game this evening, we ask that you please stand as we honor America with the playing of our national anthem. And now, let's meet the teams. We'll begin with our guests from DP. And we'll start at guard with 6'4" sophomore, number 4, Jordan Tillery. At guard, 6'1" senior, number 11, Jackson Slater. At guard, 6'4" senior, number 1, Denzel Aberdeen. At guard, 6'5" senior, number 2, Riley Kugel. And finally for the Panthers at center, 6'10" senior, number 21, Ernest Uday Jr. And the head coach of the Panthers, Ben Witherspoon. And now let's meet the starting lineup for your Wekiva High School Mustangs. Starting at guard, 6'3", sophomore, number 21, Varsity Prophet. At guard, 5'10", junior, number 12, Abia Charles. At small forward, 6'5", junior, number 4, Isaiah Bannister Doucette. At small forward, 6'2", senior, number 11, Pete Lewis. And finally for the Mustangs, at guard, 6'1", senior, number 3, Jamari Hammond. The head coach of the Mustangs, Mr. Gersino Lubin. The officials for tonight's game are from the Central Florida Officials Association here in Orlando. We thank them for their dedicated service to our high school athletic programs and join them along with our participating schools, reminding everyone to make great sportsmanship a part of this and every athletic competition. For those of you here in the arena, I want to remind you we are live streaming tonight's game. If you have friends and family back on the other side of Orlando, elsewhere in Apopka, or anywhere in the world and they'd like to tune in, just direct them to open up the YouTube app on their favorite computer, smart TV, or mobile device and search for Wekiva Sports. We also simulcast on the NFHS network for anyone who's a member there. And for those of you who are doing just that, we want to welcome you once again to Mustang Arena. This is Mark Barchi, the voice of the Mustangs and Sports Information Director here at Wekiva High School, joined by Neil Fisher from the Apopka Chief, ready to take you through what promises to be quite a spectacular opening contest, as we're going to get an attempted dunk there by Tillery that goes out of bounds off the backboard equipment. Mustangs will take over under their own baseline. And oh my, an unforced error there, as let's see, that was Pete Lewis took off for the races a little too soon. Ready, fire, aim on that one, and so the Panthers get another possession. This one converts, as that's Riley Kugel from Denzel Aberdeen to put the Panthers on the board.
Yeah, if up speed, fast-paced is your cup of tea, as mentioned in the pregame show, you've come to the right place. Dr. Phillips certainly the favorite, but Wekiva plays just as well. That is their forte as well. That's Doucette pulling down the rebound, couldn't grab it, and Lewis can't get the trying to go to the bank. Riley
nice work there
Kugel
on the board there, though, by Lewis.
Riley Kugel scored the first basket. Right from the beginning, 2 possessions ago, he tried to go slam jam. Now Kugel drives to the lane, kicks it out, finds the right wing. That's Aberdeen. Too much heat. Off, but doing the Windex work and slam through is
Put-back
Utah.
dunk by Ernest Uday.
And once again, you're going to hear the names Aberdeen, Cougar, and Uda a lot. All 3 of them are not just signed with D1 programs, but Power 5 D1 programs. This is Hammond, top of the key, the senior, over to Charles. Wekiva is going to have to slow down their pace, Mark. That's a kind of an odd thing to say. If you follow Wekiva, you know their transition, again, is their forte, but compared to DP, they're much better off if they slow down that pace. And there you see why. Kugel, again, the Mississippi State signee, right place, right time, and he'll take it himself and drain the rain.
3-point basket for Ernest Uday, and we'll pause for a Mustang timeout. 30-second timeout called by Wekiva.
So DP coming out of the gate, shooting the ball hot, and that means you're getting some good looks. 7-0, 3 possessions out of 4 they have scored. We'll be back from Mustang Arena. Mustang Arena, the site for this Metro Conference matchup. 2 Western Division teams. Dr. Phillips in the blue traditional jersey, road jerseys. They have staked out to a 7-0 lead over the home school, Wekiva Mustangs. Wekiva, a team that's looking to improve. 3 victories 2 seasons ago, 11 victories last season. Obviously a big challenge. This would go a long way. And again, one of the things that we've seen, Mark, with Wekiva's, they've gotten off to a not-so-strong start. They've fallen behind in the two games against the ranked opponents. That's OCP and Windermere, and they've done that again, and that's Hammond trying to drive that lane. And that was Uda, I believe, who got a hand on that, the University of Kansas.
I think that was
commit.
Kugel, actually.
Oh, Kugel. Okay, the Mississippi State commit. Of course, to be honest, it doesn't really matter. The result's the same. Hammond trying to drop the tray. Loose ball. Wekiva certainly coming out with their best effort. And Uda did travel, indecision. Wasn't sure if he wanted to dribble or pass. So Wekiva catches the break. They trail 7-0. And if you're Wekiva, 7-0 is not overcomable, but you certainly don't want to get much more than that. And it's going to happen here. Kugel standing in front and goes home for the slam. 9-0. Now,
Kugel steals the layup, or the dunk.
Talked in the pregame. Transition, DP, as good as Wekiva is, DP's probably better. Wekiva would be better served to slow down, and it starts with, as you just saw, their full-court defense. That certainly takes a lot of gas out of your opponent if you're trying to get the ball up against such a ferocious full-court defense. Hammond steps back, clanks off the rim. Uda pulling the rebound down. He's certainly come with his Windex bottle tonight. Kugel driving that lane. And some good defense by Wekiva. Great defense team-wise. Hammond out to Charles. Rims in and out. Actually, that was Lewis. And so at least Wekiva has stemmed the tide in terms of that lead growing. They have not been able to get on the board, though, as we're approaching midway through the first quarter. DP with a 9-0 lead. This is Aberdeen. He's going to take the tray himself. No dice. And Doucette skying for the rebound. This is Livingston, the freshman on the varsity team. He'll bring the ball up himself and draws the foul at the top of the key.
Foul is called against number 1, Denzel Aberdeen. That's his first personal foul. And the team's first. Checking into the game for DP, number 0, Mason Sheffield.
So Wekiva needing to score some points. They're down 9-0. And this is a situation that if you're Wekiva, you can't let that lead grow too much. Not only just the tangible of the lead and the score as the drive, the pass goes through Doucette's hands, but just for momentum and confidence. Lewis again trying to go up, and that was Slater with the rejection down to the other end. Kugel slows it down for a second. Alley-oop to Uda, who barely had to touch the rim.
Ernest Uday for 2.
And Wekiva, I'd say now they're in really pretty much 11-0. You cannot let that 12th point score here. It's going to be a hard task to come back from the corner. And the worst
Kugel
that could happen.
Slater for 3.
And a second time.
Mustangs.
And as you just heard Mark say, Coach Lubin calls a second timeout. We're not even 5 minutes in. The explosiveness of Dr. Phillips on full display. 14-0 from Mustang Arena.
We want to thank the Mustang cheerleaders for coming out and joining us tonight. This is their second game at home that they've been able to come out and support. We do encourage you to play along when they ask for your assistance in cheering on the Mustangs. Thanks for being here to cheer on Wekiva.
And as we get to the last 3:22 of the first quarter, this Metro Conference West Division matchup, Wekiva finds itself in a situation, has its works cut out. They're going to have to put together some of perhaps the best play of the entire season to get back in. This is Dr. Phillips. The alley-oop again to Uda, And that's one of the few things that DP has done wrong. But the fact that they were even able to attempt it alley-oop says how dominating they've been.
Vokesy, Profit, and one.
And so on that other end, as you heard Mark call it,
foul called against Ernest Uday. That's his first personal foul, the team's second.
Wekiva absolutely needed that deuce from Profit on the other end. If he gets the tray, that will cut the lead to 11. A spectacular start for DP. Transition is the name of their game. They have their trio of D1 college signees, but certainly the two other stars, Jordan Tillery and Jackson Slater, have contributed as well. There's Tillery clearing the boards, gives it over to Kugel, can't get the tray, tracks down the rebound, some in and out between the leg passing, finds Sheffield going corner along that baseline. Kugel again. And another, unfortunately,
held ball, possession, Mustangs.
We're also seeing history repeat itself, Mark, in terms of that score. And again, perhaps it's a little too harsh, because this is basketball. We're not talking life and death here, but there's an old saying, those who fail to learn their history are condemned to repeat it. This is into Aberdeen, who goes bank.
From Tillery.
Those who fail to learn their history are condemned to repeat it. Wekiva, this is the third state-ranked team that Wekiva's taken on. They took Orlando Christian Prep, who is number one in the nation in Class 1A. They took on Windermere, who's ranked in the top 10 in Class 7A. DP's ranked number one in 7A, and they've fallen behind by double digits in the previous two games, and now a third consecutive game against top 10 ranked teams.
Foul called against Mustangs, number 10, Kerry Davis. That's his first, the team's first, and it sends Denzel Aberdeen to the line, shooting two.
So Aberdeen, the shooting guard, 6'4" senior. The Florida commit, ranked number 20, class of 2022, Florida Hoops, number 41 ESPN. Shooting guard in number 20 ESPN Florida. That was ESPN nationally, ranked 41 and ranked number 20 in ESPN Florida. And now Aberdeen continues to make his presence felt.
And we're going to get a whistle. I don't know if that was a kickball perhaps, but one way or the other it stays with Wekiva. And Neil, to your point, most teams would kill to have one player on their roster at that talent level with the D1 commitment and able to just make it rain the way that those three players are. DP has not one, not two, but three of them, and a supporting cast that also most definitely pulls their weight.
Yeah, and the other thing I'd say right off the bat, Wekiva trailing 18-2 under 2 minutes in the first quarter. The block from Sheffield down the other way. This is Kugel. He's blocked. So Wekiva at least able to prevent that easy shot. Possession remains with DP, and Aberdeen will set up the play. Talked about this against Windermere and OCP. Yes, they are great at transition. They have the skill and the range to play transition, DP that is, but they know exactly. They have a plan and a purpose every time they create a transition opportunity, as the travel is called on Aberdeen. Probably outthought the room there.
Traveling Mustangs ball. And yeah, Neil, I had a conversation with Coach Lubin about this before the season started when we saw that Wekiva had drawn OCP as their opponent for the Metro versus Florida Challenge. I said, how do you feel about that? And he said, well, if you want to be the best, you have to play the best. And so what we've learned is Wekiva is definitely showing a lot of promise that maybe they didn't show over the past two seasons. That being said, though, the question is now that they've taken, as we got Denzel Aberdeen with the basket and a chance to make it a three-point play, the foul called against Mustangs, number 12, Abia Charles. That's his first personal foul and the team's second. So as I started to say there a moment ago, as Aberdeen goes to the free throw line, and we're going to get a sub, that is Carter McDowell in for Jordan Tillery. The question that remains that we haven't seen a great answer to yet, we know Wekiva's playing better than they were over the last 2 years. We know they can play well against a building team or a team that's
of their same level.
Right, a team of
around 500.
Right, yeah, a medium caliber team. We know that they can play those games. The question, though, is can they play against an elite level team? And so far, the answer has been, well,
no.
Sometimes they can play for a couple of quarters, as they did against Windermere, but they can't play the full 32 minutes against these top-level programs.
The problem, to get very specific, is they can do it, but they do it after they fall behind early. Again, history repeating itself. The dice, no dice, rolls out, and down at the other end, Dr. Phillips moves. Again, you see how quickly they move down that court. It doesn't take them 5 seconds.
Foul is called against Mustangs, number 10, Kerry Davis. That's his second personal foul, the team's third, and it will send Denzel Aberdeen to the line, shooting 2.
So against OCP, during the Metro versus Florida Challenge, the opener, and then Windermere, they played a week ago. Wekiva fell behind by at least 13 points in both those games. Both those games, they came back. They cut the lead down to single digits. Against Windermere, they even took a 35-34 halftime lead. Against OCP, with about a minute left, they cut the lead to 8. But the problem, Mark, of course, anybody who follows any sports knows this, is that in order to get back into those games, regardless of the tangible result, and again, even if you take the lead like they did halftime against Windermere, it just takes so much energy and oomph out of a team to do so. Meanwhile, Doucette with the bank.
Isaiah Bannister from Jamaric Hammond.
Down at the other end, no tray, but Dr. Phillips living up to the hype, living up to what they're supposed to do. An explosive start, shooting over 60% and forcing turnovers. 23-4 lead for the number 1 ranked team in Class 7A statewide. And welcome back to Mustang Arena. About to start the second quarter of this Metro Conference West Division matchup. Unfortunately, the Wekiva Mustangs on the wrong end of this game, taking on the number 1 team in Class 7A statewide and defending Class 7A state champions. That's the Dr. Phillips Panthers. Wekiva will be on defense to start 23-4, and Denzel Aberdeen, the leading scorer, with 9 points as we start this, but all 3 of their D1 signees have come to play, certainly showing why they would be the odds-on favorite to repeat. This Aberdeen can't get the ball. Some good defense for Wekiva. At the other end, Doucette, finger roll, no dice. Clearing the boards is McDowell, who came in during the break. The other end, the slash, the dash, no dice again, but doing Windex work in the floating putback, Saucedo. That makes the lead 25-4. Wekiva coming in 1-2, getting their first victory against Lake Buena Vista, losing to 2 other top-ranked teams, Windermere and OCP. Hammond picks up that loose ball, and you can certainly hear the DP bench cheering on their teammates as we're a minute into the second quarter.
And Neil, you said before the game to look for a lot of transition offense tonight, and if that's what you were looking for, you have not been disappointed so far.
Yeah, and the thing about DP, again, they are a great transition team. You can see that. You don't have to be a basketball guru, But when they get into transition, when they create those opportunities, they're not just in transition. They have a plan, a purpose, a goal every time they come down that court running the ball. They don't just move quickly. They get that ball up in about 3 seconds so far. The splitting of the defense, Aberdeen, but
Denzel Aberdeen gets his own putback for 2.
And they attack that basket. Everything they do, they attack.
Yeah, I can tell you as someone who is sitting here trying to keep stats while I announce, it's making life really hard on me as well because the transition is happening so quickly, the rebounds and the putback attempts are happening so quickly. It is a game that it's stressful to be their opponent. It's stressful even just to watch it.
Yeah, and we continue the other way. Aberdeen, 1-on-3, finger rolls the deuce.
Denzel Aberdeen on the Panther layup.
Obsolete to 29-4. And for you racing fans out there, as Darrell Walter would say, buckle up your seatbelt, boys.
And finally some contact drawn here as Abia Charles is fouled on the attempt. Foul called against number 12, Cameron Miles. That's his first personal foul, the team's third, and Abia Charles will shoot 2.
And when I say buckle up your seat, boys and girls, I don't mean the typical ones you find in our passenger car on the road where you got the 1 point. I'm talking the 5-point seatbelts that you see in NASCAR and IndyCar and Formula One, because there has been contact and they are turning through turn 3. They are slingshotting this ball all around the court. So 29-4, 5:30 before halftime. Wekiva has come out. They've played their best. It's not, you can tell by the body language when a team is not ready to play. Their body language certainly does not say that, but they just clearly have not been able to keep up again with the pace of Dr. Phillips as a slash and dash.
Miles
the deuce
to
from
McDowell.
the goal. And once again, DP, yes, they are known for transition. They are known for creating the transition, but they're not just attacking on transition. They attack in every aspect. There's a sign of that as Uda, the Kansas signee, on defense. Prophet trying to do something, kicks out to Livingston in the corner. Off the front end, pulling down that rebound is Sheffield. And Sheffield, a guard, pulling down that rebound. DP, of course, we mentioned it.
Held ball, possession Mustangs.
Losing to Lake Highland Prep, and certainly I haven't seen every single game played, obviously, but I would put any game as Uda steps in front and no foul. So there again, another example of the attacking, not just on transition, but they played Lake Highland Prep as the tray is launched by Charles, and he drains the rain.
Abia Charles for 3.
Much needed points for Wekiva, cuts the lead to 23. That game that DP played at Metro versus Florida Challenge, I would put it up against any game so far this season as the best. But since then, DP losing as the ball goes down to Uda, and the only way that he can be stopped is to tie it up in a foul.
And that foul is called against Mustangs, number 21, Vosi Prophet. That's his first personal foul, and the team's 4th.
Since that loss to Lake Highland Prep, which again came down to the last 6 seconds, Bryce Satsaba dropping a tray with 6 seconds remaining. Dr. Phillips has beaten 2 other, not just state caliber ranked teams, but nationally ranked teams. They beat Rivera Prep, the number 1 team in Class 3A, and then they beat Tri-City out of Georgia, who's also ranked in the state of Georgia. 32-7.
Isaiah Bannister checks into the game for the Mustangs. Ernest Uday is at the line shooting. And correction, a moment ago we called a 3 down at the other end. It was actually a 2 for Kerry Davis, and that's why you saw Wekiva score drop by 1.
So
Uday does hit a second.
Uda drops both of the free throws. Uda, the Florida Hoops class 2022, number 8 ranked. Certainly showing up tonight. From the corner, that's Charles. Too much heat. And pulling down the rebound, Jordan Tillery takes it himself, comes to the right side. And great defense. Doucette getting his body in the way. Lewis picks it up one-on-one against Kugel. Gives it up the other side, intercepting that ball like a DB. McDowell back to Kugel. He goes left, right, and makes the withdrawal.
Riley Kugel on the layup.
And the lead continues to increase, Mark. 3:45 before halftime. And again, I hope you have your seatbelts buckled. As Darryl Waltrip will say, Lewis, stop, pops, and drops. And that cuts the lead to 35-9. 3.5 remaining. And I believe this is the first.
Hit that.
I believe this is the first time that DP actually at least semi-walked the ball up. It's not going to really matter. They get the shot. Kugel, no dice. A long outlet to Profit. Saves it. Back to Livingston, who's in position for the tray. And the bad luck continues for Wekiva. DP possession.
Jamara Cameron returns to the game for Wekiva.
And DP has done a tremendous amount of Wekiva's situation has been created by DP. And again, they're extremely talented. They have an extremely diverse range of talent and skill, but they execute very well that talent and skill. As you see there, going back the other way, the reverse withdrawal.
Carter McDowell from Ernest Uday.
But DP, Wekiva's also had some bad luck in this game as well.
Steal by Uday, going down the other way. Kugel can't get it for Tillery. Put a little bit too much heat on the alley-oop attempt, and Jermaine Hardy is going to go the other way, try to take it all the way himself. Goaltending, Jermaine Hardy's basket is good.
And that'll cut
There's a call you don't see every day.
Yeah, and I just mentioned that Wekiva's had some bad luck. Well, there's some good luck.
Yeah, we'll have to go back and watch the instant replay and slow it down and see whether that ball had reached the top of its arc or not. Of course, in high school you don't really have instant replay, but on YouTube you do. Jordan Tillery to Carter McDowell.
And you know what, Mark? We've seen just about every way you can score. That was a new way in terms of the style. Not quite a slam, but not quite a floating jump shot either. So meantime, Wekiva with possession. This is Profit down to the left corner. Hardy drains the rain.
Jermaine Hardy from Boise. Profit for 3.
So DP goes back on the attack. Wekiva going with full court defense. And again, here you see DP slowing it down just a slight bit, but they're still incredibly effective in creating their shot. And
Jordan Tillery down the paint for 2. And there you see the skill level, because Jermaine Hardy didn't do anything wrong there. I mean, he was disrupting the motion. Defense. Yeah, he disrupted the dribble, and Tillery just danced around it anyway. But now Darius Livingston from downtown.
First 3 points for Livingston, 1:15 before halftime. 41-17, DP in the lead and with possession. Metro Conference action, 2 West Division teams duking it out. DP, the number 1 ranked team in Class 7A, has come to play. And you know what, Mark? They didn't bring their B game. They brought their A game tonight. And I know Wekiva, again, talked about this. They certainly came out. They were ready to play, at least mentally. They have not necessarily been intimidated, but quite frankly, as you just mentioned, that last score by Dr. Phillips, they just have not been able to keep up with DP.
30-second timeout called by the Panthers. We'll be back.
.59 seconds before halftime. Dr. Phillips in the blue jerseys with a 41-17 lead against the homestanding Wekiva Mustangs. Neil Fisher, Mark Barchi live from Mustang Arena. Wekiva looking to at least make some progress, cut into this lead before halftime. Maybe I could say settle down, catch their breath. That's Hammond No tray. Pulling down the rebound is Riley Kugel, the Mississippi State recruit. He'll go to work all by himself. Stop, pop, and drain the rain.
Kugel for 3.
Smooth as silk for the Mississippi State recruit. Coming back the other way. Profit into Hammond. Runs into a wall called Jalen Janvier. And Wekiva will get the offensive rebound. 15 seconds. Down into the corner. That's Profit. Stop, pop, no drop. Getting a hand and coming down with the rebound. McDowell, 6 seconds. Dr. Phillips looking to close out the first half the way they started with that explosive and dynamic
Riley Kugel is
movement.
fouled on the attempt. He'll go to the line and shoot 2. The foul is called against Mustangs number 21, Vosi Profit. That's his 2nd personal foul and the team's 5th. Well, for whatever else you may criticize about this game, it's been a fairly clean one. 8 fouls total between the two teams over the first half, save for the last 3.3 seconds.
So DP will not end the half on an explosive giddy-up bucket in transition, but certainly with the same effect, adding to that lead. Kugel drops both of those free throws. 3 seconds remaining.
1 for 2.
Wekiva, one last opportunity. Livingston takes it, and no dice. And so Dr. Phillips came out as promised. They brought their A game, not their B game. A 16-0 run to start the game, and they have just increased from there. Very little they have done wrong against a improving Wekiva team. 45-17 is the score at halftime.
Welcome back to Mustang Arena. The Panthers have the opening possession of the third quarter. And so far, it has been just about all DP. The Mustangs have had a little bit of luck from the perimeter, but DP has had an answer for them in just about every way, and we've seen the explosive transition play as advertised in the first half, and it has built a pretty significant advantage. 45-17 the score, coming back from intermission.
Yeah, the first 14 points were put on the board by DP, and they have not looked back since then. Quick look at the stats. You really only need two, and that is DP is shooting 55%, 17 of 31 from the floor compared to 24 for Wekiva. They've actually only shot two less, but obviously if you have the same amount and you got almost twice as, well, actually more than twice the field goal percentage, that means that DP is getting much better looks at the basket. And they have a couple of non-starters in to start the second half. That's Uday, who draws the foul, the Kansas commit.
Foul is called against Mustangs, number 11, Pete Lewis. That's his first personal foul, the team's first. Ernest Uday at the line, shooting two.
So the other stat, and DP really doesn't need this. They would still have put together a commanding and authoritative performance. But just to give you an idea, what's been going on in the first half, they took 9 free throws compared to only 3 for Wekiva. So that's a 7-point, 8 of 9 compared to 1 of 3. So even at the free throw line where DP doesn't need those single points, they are still getting that domination. Of course, we started the game talking about transition. DP, not just known as a state championship contender. Of course, they are the defending state champs in Class 7A, but they do it with transition first and foremost. And even when they go into a half-court set, you still feel like they're running transition. And, you know, they could have come in today maybe taking a look down at Wekiva. Wekiva's a decent team. They're solid. They're fundamental. We've seen that. But certainly they're not a defending state champion. But they did not bring their B game. That's DP. They brought their A game, and that's Kugel, the Mississippi State
Riley
transfer.
Kugel, coast to coast to steal two for the Panther layup. So now the Mustangs are staring down the barrel of a running clock. 4 more points to the differential would trigger that rule. As we go to Jamaric Hammond. And I don't know where that bounce pass was intended to achieve, but Mustangs will benefit from the kickball rule there, as checking into the game for DP, number 0, Mason Sheffield. So Riley Kugel gets a little break there.
And their 3 D1 prospects, or signees, Kugel, Aberdeen, and Uday, who gets the rebound as well. They have shown up tonight, and again, mentioned DP didn't show up with their B game. They showed up with their A game. So have those 3 D1 signees. All of them in double digits. The long range, the tray, no dice, and pulling the rebound down.
It's Tillery. And give Pete Lewis a block there. You always like to see that when the guy who isn't necessarily the tallest one on the court gets a good quality block in. Checking into the game for the Mustangs, number 10, Kerry Davis.
Of course, DP, the defending state champs in Class 7A, as they continue to build the lead.
From the inbound of Slater.
And they came back this year with, as we mentioned, there's 3 D1 signees, but they are loaded with seniors from that championship team. 8 seniors from that state championship team, and they certainly have lived up in that aspect as well. This Hammond, extended left, guarded by Sheffield. Now he drives, goes left, right, can't get the withdrawal to drop, and Uday pulling down another rebound. So not only have they scored well, DP has the drop back, no dice for Aberdeen, the long outlet, and this is Charles. He tries to go withdrawal and draws the foul.
Charles is fouled on the attempt. He'll go to the line and shoot 2. The foul is called against Panthers number 0, Mason Sheffield, his first and the team's first of this half.
but it's also been a team rebounding effort as well. 7 players have scored, 9 players have pulled down at least 1 rebound for DP. So taking a look ahead at Wekiva's schedule as DP with an opportunity to increase that 32-point lead. After today, after taking on 3 state-ranked top 10 teams, as Uday goes for the floating, tries to go finger roll. Hammond pulls the rebound down, coast to coast.
Stop, and drop. From the key for 2.
They will continue. They go on the road Friday against Ocoee. Then they will be in the North Marion event. That's the North Marion Shootout on Saturday. And then Monday they return home to play Lake Region. And then they close out the 2021 calendar year in the month of December against Apopka on the 16th. This is Uday.
Ernest Uday with the Panther dunk.
And there you see 6'10" of power as he just flipped around that baseline and beat his man. Livingston out. 32-point lead for Dr. Phillips. 4 minutes remaining in the third quarter. Metro Conference matchup. Hammond. He'll take a step back and drains the ring.
Jamarick Hammond for 3.
So that does cut the lead under 30, 29 to be exact. And I've mentioned this a couple of other times, Mark, but obviously DP is incredibly skilled and talented. There are very few teams that can match that level, as well as the diversity.
Foul is called against Mustangs. Number 12, Abia Charles, his second.
However, they execute that talent and skill set extremely well, extremely efficiently. And especially
and again, Abia Charles is called with a foul.
Especially in the transition game as the ball goes in and give the withdrawal, the deuce to Tillery.
Jordan Tillery on the inbound from Miles.
And there's an example whenever they have possession of the ball, really any aspect, not just on offense but defense, Dr. Phillips has an exact plan, a goal, score the deuce for Charles.
Abia Charles floats one in from the key.
As we come back the other way, Tillery runs through the middle of the Wekiva defense. Now he'll come down low. Back up to Sheffield. Sheffield down into the corner. And that was McDowell. That was Miles. Unable to drop the tray, but draws
Push
the
is called
foul
against Mustangs number 4, Isaiah Bannister. That's his first personal foul, the team's 4th. Cameron Miles was behind the arc when he was fouled. He'll go to the line and shoot 3.
Everything Dr. Phillips does, they don't just do it. They have a plan, a goal, a purpose in mind, and they do that, and they execute that goal, that plan, that purpose with an attacking mindset. So lead now up to 30 as McDowell drops the free throw. 3:09 remaining in the third quarter. Free throw good, and that ups the lead to 55-25. This has been all Dr. Phillips from the get-go. A 14-0 run to begin, and we saw a lot of that. That was Uday, the intended receiver. Hammond will come down the other way. Stops at the tray. Too long off the heel. Sheffield doing the Windex work. Back to Uday, the long pass. But Riley there to pick it up and slam. Jam.
Uday to Kugel. Well, I guess Uday still gets the assist, even though that was not at all what he meant to do.
So in the meantime, Wekiva continues to try to keep that lead under 30. And they won't do it on that one. Rejected by Kugel. the Mississippi State commit. Lead is 33.
Full timeout requested by Wekiva.
So Dr. Phillips continues to bring their A game, and they have a 58-25 lead. Live from Mustang Arena, this is the Wekiva Sports Athletic Network.
Welcome back to Mustang Arena. Wekiva taking a break here to talk things over.
And yeah, unfortunately for Wekiva, with 2:32 remaining before the end of the third quarter, the only question in this game against Dr. Phillips is how many points is the final victory going to be by. Wekiva certainly has come out. They've played a lot better than what we've seen the last couple of years, as Hammond takes the inbound and can't get the rain to drain, but Hardy doing Windet's work.
Jermaine Hardy on the putback. So yeah, at this point, I think Wekiva considers it a moral victory if they can avoid the mercy rule.
So to go back, this is certainly a much better version of a Wekiva team as the turnover in Hammond than what we've seen the last couple of years. But you don't have to be a basketball guru to understand that they're just not in the level, just starting with the talent and skill that Dr. Phillips possesses. We talked about it from the pregame show. 3 D1 commits, not just 3 D1 commits, but all three of them have signed with Power 5 schools. They've shown up with their A games, but the rest of the team has as well. Wekiva certainly has given it their best. They have not, I guess they shied away. They're not sinking their head. They're going ahead with their game, which is something different than we've seen in past. But again, just starting, if you look at the physical attribution, they are at a disadvantage. And this time, though, they'll get the loose ball. Hammond, the senior, quickly out, down to the corner. Livingston, no rain. And Uday, one of those commits, a University of Kansas commit, pulls down the rebound. And now I think this is like the third time today Dr. Phillips has gone into a half-court set.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, Neil, that we're starting to see a little bit of a departure from the fun and gun transition offense on both sides.
As Darryl Waltrip for you racing fans would say, buckle up your seatbelts, boys and girls style. So the lob into Uday, open, and the slam.
Tillery to Uday for the Panther dunk.
And there you see just the physical difference. Uday just shook off a couple of Wekiva defenders, and he had 6 inches of separation when he received that ball. 40 seconds remaining. Wekiva with possession. This is Hardy. He spins, looks for the shot, guarded by Sukermani, and DP will come back the other way. And showing the hops is Tillery.
Jordan Tillery adds a dunk for the Panthers.
And there, that goes under the umbrella of the skill set and talent. Tillery, a guard, going up and above the rim for the slam. So Wekiva's going to hold the ball. Hammond. And with clock still running.
Foul is called against Panthers number 1, Denzel Aberdeen, his second.
So quick shot on the inbound and drain the rain for Livingston.
Darius Livingston drains a jumper at the buzzer, and that will be the last word of the third quarter. Back with the conclusion here on Hump Day Hoops, Wednesday night basketball from Mustang Arena. Panthers on top at the end of 3.
And we get ready to start the fourth quarter. Unfortunately for Wekiva, they have not only run into a Class 7A defending state champ, and which has a lot of their players returning, 8 seniors in total, but a Class 6A defending state champion who returned 8 seniors who brought their A game tonight. 62-29 as we head into the fourth quarter. This is Livingston. And ball will remain with Wekiva. And Dr. Phillips was shooting 55% at halftime. They've actually increased that in the third quarter slightly now, 56, 24-43, as Coach Lubin calls a timeout. But when you're shooting 56% from the field, that also means you're getting really good looks on a consistent basis. So 30 seconds in, DP continues to put that defensive pressure on Wekiva, and Coach Lubin wants to settle his team down. 62-29, DP lead.
Welcome back to Mustang Arena. Mark Barchi and Neil Fisher here with you for Wednesday night basketball action. And the running clock rule has been triggered and will remain in effect for the whole fourth quarter as Varsity Prophet drives the paint for the Mustang layup.
At the other end, Uday hits the deck due to a foul. And Varsity Prophet showing good sportsmanship.
Foul is called against number 21, Varsity Prophet. That's his third personal foul, the team's fifth of this half. At the line shooting will be Ernest Uday.
And so once again, DP with 3 players who have not only signed on to D1 programs, but Power 5 D1 programs. That is Denzel Aberdeen, Riley Kugel, and Ernest Uday, who is at the free throw line right now. And they certainly have showed up with their A games, but the point I want to make, Mark, is it hasn't just been those 3, even though they've combined for 41 of the 62 points. 8 players have scored for DP, and 10 players have pulled a rebound down. So a very balanced attack. And again, Mark, I've used that word attack throughout this broadcast as Lewis tries to pass the ball out to Prophet, but stepping in front was Slater, and he's going to lead the charge. Hands off to Kugel. Cougar hands off back to Slater. Slater back to Aberdeen. And now DP is somewhat putting the brakes on. They're not running up and down the court quite as quickly, but certainly they're still looking for a good shot here. Kugel inside, back to his inside, and back to the baseline and draws the foul.
Riley Kugel fouled on the attempt. He'll go to the line and shoot 2. The foul is called against Mustangs' Jamaric Hammond. That's his first, and the team's 6th.
And again, Mark, I used the word attack. Everything DP does, they attack, not just on the offensive end, not just when they get transition, but even on the defensive end, they attack the opponents. When they attack the opponents, so Hardy pulls down the rebound, comes up, down along the baseline, and score the deuce off the bank for Prophet.
Jermaine Hardy to Varsity Prophet.
And so that'll cut the lead to 30, 63-33. 4.5 remaining in this Metro Conference Western Division matchup. Dr. Phillips will up their record to 3-1. Kugel from the corner drives the lane on the sweep. Does the Windex work and floats in the deuce. On the putback.
Riley Kugel gets the putback and the chance to make it a 3-point play. The foul is called against Vosi Profit. That's his 4th personal foul and the team's 7th.
So as we go to break, excuse me, we're not going to have a break.
And we'll pause for a 30-second timeout requested by the Panthers. So here's what happened. The Panthers requested a timeout for the sole purpose of making substitutions. Coach Lubin wanted to actually use the timeout to coach. And that's, well, it's been 30 seconds anyway, so it really doesn't matter.
So, Coach Lubin and Coach Witherspoon did meet right in front of the scorer's table. Of course, it's where Mark and I sit. And, we could see they had the discussion. I was not able to actually hear what they were talking about. So thank you for that.
I did. Coach Witherspoon was advising Coach Lubin that Dr. Phillips has had a rough couple of games with their fourth quarter performance, and that is why they are continuing to put the pressure on and turn up the heat in spite of the fact that they've essentially secured the victory at this point. So he wanted to extend that olive branch to let him know that it was not an unsporting intent, that Dr. Phillips is continuing to turn the screws as hard as they can.
Right, and we mentioned this last week against when Wekiva played Lake Buena Vista. Coaches don't coach for the current game, Mark. They are coaching for the handful of games that they're going to be playing in the future. So, again, as you mentioned, Mark, it had nothing to do with sportsmanship or rubbing the score in or anything. Coach Witherspoon wanted to get his primary players some time out there because he hasn't been happy with their performance. And another thing we talk about, Mark, this applies to practice as well. A bad performance does tend to carry over into the next games.
Right. So, I mean, we've seen, particularly when we've called some, other teams, like when we call the Wekiva girls games, we've seen this happen where the outcome of the game is decided, and some may view it as unsportsmanlike to continue to run full court pressure and continue to dunk and continue to,
run their offense.
Right, run their offense at 110%. But the reality is that for a lot of these teams, it's all about momentum and maintaining that mental state from game to game, because I haven't looked at DP's schedule for the rest of the week, but, again, like you said, you're thinking about your next game after this, as we get a putback made by Abia Charles.
And so on that note, Dr. Phillips, as I mentioned, will go to 3-1. Of course, they lost their opener to Lake Highland Prep. That was part of the Metro versus Florida Challenge the night before Thanksgiving. A 1-point loss, a great game. Again, I would definitely put it up against any other game as being the best so far this season.
Vosi Profit!
Since that loss, DP has come back with a vengeance. They beat Miami Riviera Prep, the 3A number 1 school.
DP bucket by Carter McDowell.
And then DP defeated Tri-City out of the state of Georgia, ranked number 10 in that state. Wekiva, in the meantime, will drop to 1-3. We talked about, since we went on the air with the pregame show, they have had about as challenging a schedule as anybody in the state, as Livingston drains the rain.
Hammond to Livingston for a long 2-point jumper for Wekiva. And his foot on the line there, so that won't be 3.
Wekiva has played Orlando Christian Prep, Windermere, and now DP tonight.
Jonathan Casado spins for the DP jumper.
OCP and DP ranked both defending state champions and ranked number 1 in their classification. Windermere ranked in the top 10 in Class 7A as well. So, again, an incredibly challenging schedule. They will, though, I don't want to say this in a disparaging way, but certainly the quality will take a drop. They go Friday to take on Ocoee. That's a road game. And then they go up to the North Marion Shootout on Saturday. They return home next week to take on Lake Region. And then they complete the calendar year on the 16th against Apopka. just 5 miles up the road.
Foul is called against number 0, Mason Sheffield, his second, the team's third. And a full timeout requested by the Panthers. All right, so we'll take one more quick break here. We'll be back for the last 41.8 seconds in a moment. Welcome back to Mustang Arena, and Coach Witherspoon calling the timeout there to protect the next play, I guess. Otherwise, the clock may very well have run out while Jamara Cameron was shooting free throws. So the clock, if I understand the rules correctly, the clock remains stopped even though it is a running clock until it is put back into play. And then once it restarts, it will stay restarted.
And so thank you for joining us on this Wednesday night, Metro Conference action. And pretty much a game. There's the exclamation point.
Carter McDowell on the Panther dunk.
This game, the outcome decided as soon as the ball was tipped off. Dr. Phillips putting up the first 14 points, and that lead just grew from there. Said it many, many times during this game. This is not just a team that has skill and talent at the highest level, but everything they do, a plan, a purpose, and a goal. And this team, not only their 3 D1 signees, but the team as a whole didn't show up with their B game. They showed up with their A game. They shot 56% from the floor, and Wekiva came in needing to improve that, 44%, but they were unable to get to 25 against this nasty, nasty DP defense. And that will conclude our game.
Takes us to the end of the ball game, 72-40, the final score here at Mustang Arena as Wekiva comes up with an 11-10 advantage in the fourth quarter, but it is not enough to undo the damage done in the first 3 quarters by the Panthers, and they will take the Metro win tonight. We'd like to thank everyone for coming out to support your Mustang and Panther athletes, or for joining us on YouTube or the NFHS network. Mustang fans, we hope that you will follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at Wekiva Sports, and bookmark WekivaMustangs.com for all of your scores, schedules, and more. The Mustangs' next game is on the road at Ocoee, coming up on Friday the 10th. Then they head over to the Tim Brinkley Memorial Shootout to take on North Marion on Saturday. Your next chance to catch them at home is coming up on December 13th, where they will host Apopka for freshmen and then Lake Region for varsity. We hope that you'll join us for that. We'll be live streaming that game as well. I want to thank Neil Fisher from the Apopka Chief and Keith Dickerson and his entire team from Wekiva TV Broadcast Production for helping to bring you tonight's game. This is Mark Barchi, the voice of the Mustangs and Sports Information Director here at Wekiva High School, wishing you a great night and a great rest of your week. This has been a presentation of Wekiva High School Athletics in association with Orange Technical College, both a proud part of Orange County Public Schools. Good night from Mustang Arena.